coming, but we're finally here. I have my new dream reef tank. Hi everyone, my name is Marcus and you're watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. So as you can see, the tank is finally here and in place and it looks amazing. I'm really happy with the result. All the hard work and designing and planning from many different people, immense amount of time that's been put in has all been worth it because I think it looks amazing. The custom cabinet, the custom tank, the custom hood, the work I've done in the kitchen as well, renovating all of that, has kept the whole thing in keeping with the house, and yeah, it just looks amazing, and I can't wait to fill this with water and transfer across my fish and coral and expand the aquascape and really get it running. But even just in its current state as an empty glass box, it looks great. It was a bit of a challenge getting it into my house. I'll show you some footage here of the journey that the tank had to take. We never actually measured whether it would fit in my lift, which created a little bit of an oh shit moment when we went to push it in. But thankfully it fit with 50 millimeters to spare. Once we took the suction cups off the tank anyway, it fit just into the lift. No, I'm kidding. We always knew it was going to fit. My building has a goods lift, which is twice as big as the one we were actually using. So worst case scenario, if it didn't fit in the one we were using, we would have just had to wheel it further down the building to the goods lift and take it up in that. But I wanted to give the tank the royal treatment, so it went in the nice lift. The installation itself was quite tricky because of the design of this cabinet. Part of what makes it look so awesome is this bracing, I guess you could call it, or this indented, sunken effect. By having the tank inside this wooden bench top rather than sitting on top of it. That meant that getting the tank into its nook or into place meant you can't just push it in like with a regular build. It had to be lifted and placed down. And when you're talking a tank of this size, that's a fair bit of muscle required to do it. So you can see here in the footage that we used a hydraulic jack to get the tank up to the appropriate height. And then Billy and myself and the helpers very, very carefully and slowly inched the tank closer and closer to its final position, getting the left and the right alignment just perfect, because there is a 4 mil gap around the entire perimeter of the tank. But when you're talking something of this weight and size, 4 mil may as well be, an atom in terms of accuracy, getting things perfectly aligned. But we took our time and we got there, and as you can see, the result is absolutely perfect. There's not a mark or a scratch on the wood anywhere. So yeah, real props to Billy Holiday and the guys from Starfire Aquatics, because that was a very challenging positioning of the final, just the final 10 centimeters of the tank's journey to get it into its new home. Let me talk you through some of the features of this tank, because it is quite unique and there's a lot of design elements to it that you might not come across every day of the week. Starting from the top, it's got a one-piece laser cut Euro brace. That Euro brace is in 15 mil thick Starfire glass. So it's quite an expensive component, but visually it looks stunning, and from an engineering standpoint, having that at that extremely thick 15 mil thickness and having it as a one-piece Euro brace adds an enormous amount of strength to the tank. This thing is over-engineered to Billio. It's a strong, strong tank. The bottom also has bracing. So there's an 8 mil brace on top of the bottom piece of glass, which itself is 12 mil thick. So that's a total of 20 mil bracing on the bottom. Now, most of that's not visible because it's sunken into the bench top here, but combined with the Euro brace on the top and the bottom bracing, the amount of silicon in this tank and bond surface contact point between all of the panels is real overkill, really. But the end result is that it just looks amazing, and that black silicon outline, the border that it's created, I really, really like that. It obviously suits the aesthetic of my house and a lot of the things we've got going on in here, like the slatted wood for the hood up there with the black lines through it, and I've got some industrial type furniture and look throughout the rest of my apartment as well. So I really like that black border and those bold straight lines and the thick chunkiness of it all. So yeah, I couldn't be happier with it. All of the clear panels, so that's the two sides and the front and the Euro brace actually, are done out of Starfire glass. So that's a low iron glass that is extremely clear. It's really difficult to capture that on camera in terms of a comparison with regular float glass or regular non-low iron glass. What I'm going to do is probably do a follow-up video later with Billy, where we'll have some samples of different types of glass and we'll put them in the optimal conditions so that you can see on camera the difference between them and the clarity between regular glass, low iron glass, Starfire glass, and things like that. Because I'm not a very skilled cameraman, as you'll probably see from some of my B-roll, but I really want to be able to try and demonstrate to you what the difference between those types of glass is. So I'll do my best in a follow-up video to capture that. But certainly to the eye, when you see it in person, it's chalk and cheese. The back panel is a gloss black splashback panel. So it's very reflective, really nice black gloss, looks amazing, gives this great depth to the tank because of the reflections that occur between the very outside of the glass is where the black is, then it's clear glass through the inside. So I can't wait to get my Kessels above this and see, obviously it needs to be full of water as well, but see what shimmer comes out of that depth effect that you get from having that high gloss black splashback. I'm glad I went with that and not having a clear back, because even though the wall behind the tank is white, what would then happen over time, obviously, is that coralline would grow on that back panel because it's impossible to clean on a tank this size when it's hard up against a wall. And it just starts to look messy and dirty. Whereas once it's black, it sort of masks that. It mutes the coralline more, and where it isn't covered in coralline, you get that depth effect. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how that evolves over time. But again, the black was the right choice for me for sure. The overflow, which is in the middle there, isn't quite finished. Oh, hello. isn't quite finished. As you can see, the main piece of acrylic there is just sitting there and still has its protective coating on it, but that will be gloss black as well. The reason why that's not quite finished is the two side pieces need to be, we've modified the design slightly, and they just need to be recut, but they'll be coming very soon and they can be installed very easily with the tank in place. It's a simple job. What it allows me to do is show you some of the internals of the overflow that will be completely hidden once it's complete. And so what you can see here, and if I just move this out of the way, is that the overflow is a solid glass construction, 12 mil glass actually. So it's again, like all things on this tank, overkill. But you'll notice there's these columns, these small pieces here of thinner glass that are essentially going to be creating a gap between that main glass and the acrylic, which will be bonded to it like that. So that gap, which you can see in there, is about 5 mil thick because of the thickness of that glass there. That's going to allow for a bottom intake. And you can see the venting down the bottom there is where water is going to enter the overflow from the bottom. So we're going to have a flow down the bottom of the tank, returning into the overflow and down into the sump, being sucked up these columns. And there's 1, 2, and the sides will have it as well. So 3 and 4 over on the other side there. And the water will be pushed up these columns and then flow over the top of the glass here and then down into the overflow. Simultaneously, water will also be able to come through the top venting as per a normal overflow. But you can see that it's been done in such a way that the venting is just higher, or begins just higher than this glass here, which means that we will get flow from both the bottom and the top simultaneously. And so this is not a novel idea. It's been done for quite some time in some various tanks. I know Cade's been doing it for a while, and my existing tank, the Neptunian Cube just there, has a similar design as well and does it too. So it's very tried and tested, and we know it will work because it's been proven. But to have it on a custom tank like this is, I think, a first or very uncommon. So yeah, Billy went all out with the design of this overflow to give me all of these features. You might be thinking that my access to the tank is going to be quite restrictive, as the gap here isn't really that big. But I've got some tricks. How about that? The gull-wing doors on my hood increase the access dramatically. And so you can see here now that it's quite a bit bigger. And that gives me plenty of room to get in there. When I do mount my lights up in here and around here, I'll have them on some kind of quick release mechanism so that if I need maximum access, I can easily remove them as well. This last one, unfortunately, is just a normal door, so we'll have to live with the manual labor of opening a cabinet door. Shock, horror, but that's fine. So now that we're at this point and the tank is in place, I've obviously already got all my equipment. You've seen that in previous videos, the Hamali sump, my lighting, the pumps I'm using, the skimmers, the gyres for flow, yeah, and more. Like, essentially I have everything I need and we're ready to go. All I have to do at this point is the plumbing, and I'm going to go this weekend to get everything that I need. I have some super secret, advanced, highly technical drawings and plans for the plumbing design, and I've got a shopping list of everything that I need to get. I'm going to be using the amazing Sanking flow color plumbing, and I'll take you on that journey as we plumb it up. Some of the areas for the plumbing are going to be a little tight, but it's all possible and doable with time and care and skill, not my own. It will definitely be the skill of the people helping me. But away we go. Once the plumbing is in place and not leaking and tested, I'll be filling the tank, adding salt, connecting all of the equipment and getting all of that running. Then I'll probably let it sit for maybe a week or two, just to test everything, just let it settle, allow the worst of any leaching that's going to occur from new equipment, new piping, new glass and silicon, just the absolute worst of that to occur. I'll run some carbon quite heavily and completely change that over a couple of times in that first 2 weeks. The goal is not to cycle the tank. The goal is just to get it having clean, fresh salt water in it, and any nasties from the manufacturing processes of all of the equipment and any residues on the equipment, the glass in the tank, to be dissipated or gone through running an extensive amount of carbon. And then I'm going to do a complete live transfer. All of my existing live rock and coral, live media, is going to be transferred from the old tank to the new tank in the space of an hour or two. So I'm going to take all of my biological maturity with me and just take it straight from one tank to the other. So from the perspective of my coral and bacteria and live rock and live media, they're basically going to experience a 100% water change, which is not ideal, but is certainly something that they will survive, if not maybe even like, because I'm sure the water quality on my current tank has maybe deteriorated a little bit in the last 6 months due to the lack of automated water changes. And that's essentially going to insta-cycle the tank. We're doubling the water volume, and we're also probably more than doubling the surface area available for all of that bacteria. There'll be a brand new sand bed that all the rock and the media will be transferring across, and I'll be adding a lot more rock and a lot more media at the same time. That'll be new. So I'm expecting a mini cycle or a bit of an explosion of my mature bacteria as they have new homes to colonize. But because the bio load won't be increasing, it's only my existing coral and my existing fish going across. I'm not anticipating any problems as a result of this transfer. I won't be adding new fish or new coral for some time to let the tank stabilize and mature. A lot of my existing coral is tank hardy, it's tank grown, so it should be fine. Wild colonies might not like that instability as much. And so yeah, that's the plan. And we'll be going on that journey over the next month. So subscribe to the channel if you want to follow along. It's going to be really exciting. I'll be putting out a lot more videos now that I've got the new tank to make content on, and I can't wait to go on the journey with you. Anyway, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. My name is Marcus, and you've been watching the Reef Nerd YouTube channel. Bye for now.